what inspiration is.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I didn't really feel the inspiration. I just saw a tree around the airport. But for the Flagstaff House, what I saw was the fact that the Christmas, the decoration, Christmas, it fell. In fact, it's on the floor.
Okay.
You know, but the Mary stands, and then you have Happy New Year GH.
I see.
And
well, Christmas is over, so if the Christmas fell, it's okay.
Well, it's just a testimony of the fact that there were just church services and no Christmas as we have grown to know it.
I hear you.
Anyway, but the year has started on a very good note. We give Allah Almighty the glory, and we pray that He will continue to guide us through the next 12 months and make life better for each of us and our families. And I wish you a very, very prosperous new year.
Thank you. Same to you, my brother. And just to place on record that we don't have an NPP rep here. We always have a chair for everybody who comes up. In this year, I'm sure we can also be looking at the CPP, PNC, and all those other parties to also flag up the thing so that we give everybody an opportunity to be able to flourish in the multi-party democracy that we have started since 1992 until 1993 when we inaugurated the Fourth Republic, and we're still going strong and on. But UTAG is on strike. They are asking for stuff that was promised them, which have not been delivered. They were asked to go back to the classroom. I remember that when they had indicated that they want to lay down their tools, they were told to, oh, hold on, go back to the classroom, we'll look at it. It's been 2 years since 2019 or so, and nothing has happened. Play for me that UTAG voice from the KNUST, and then we'll come into the studio to have that conversation.
There are several issues we have itemized, and those were all clearly indicated in the MOA we signed on the 6th of October 2021. And among them was the research allowance. But focus is not rather not even the research allowance only, but rather our remuneration, which has eroded over the last about 9 years or 10 years now, is a very key part of our agitation. Back on action, if the government will listen in good faith and proceed as we have indicated, then certainly we will come back very soon. But otherwise, then it lingers on.
And that's the Vice President of the KNUST UTAG, is Dr. Derek Ababaye, joins us now. Now, Sohini, they have laid down their tools today. The students are supposed to return today. In fact, Legon and other schools have returned today, but majority of them are returning this morning. Yeah. And now the lecturers say,
Well, it's not a very good start it's not a very good start of the year for any government, and especially students who may have traveled long, distances to be on the various campuses only to meet the absence of their lecturers. And so on that note, I will want to sympathize with many students across the country who are either already on campus or on their way to campus and hearing this news. And I single out students to, sympathize with them because even though it's not a very good way to start the year for any government, I think that this government brought it upon itself.
Right.
Because this has been in the works for a very long time now. Like you indicated, UTAC have been complaining about their conditions of service for over 2 years now. They went on a strike. I recall, I think sometime August last year, they were, made to call off the strike and return to the classrooms with the assurance that some of their concerns were going to be addressed. Now, as we are told, almost all the timelines have been exceeded without any concrete steps towards addressing their problems. And so you cannot sympathize with government, if UTAG decides to serve them this New Year gift in the manner that they are doing it. And for me, Johnny, what is significant is that when you look at the demands that UTAG is making, it just tells you the level of, in my view, deterioration that we are experiencing as workers across board. What are they asking for? They are asking for their 2012 agreed terms of conditions to be implemented. You would have thought that 2012 till now, that's about 10 years, a lot would have happened that agreement or those terms and conditions would have, required some variation.
Exactly.
But they are actually saying that that 2012 is better than what they are currently enjoying. And so just give us the 2012, agreed terms and conditions of service. They are also asking for their 2013, interim market premium. 2013, interim market premium agreed on to be implemented. How difficult is that? I mean, it's not as if they are even
done. Where's the money coming from?
But you see, where's the money coming from? You will be right to ask a question like that. But when all around you, you see money being wasted by people who are telling you there's no money, then all rational approaches that you could have adopted just fly out of the window. I mean, when you see the president, you see the ministers, you see government appointees and board members and chairmen defending, so much wastage of money, then you cannot accept the view that government does not have money to meet some of these very critical needs of our nation. Because you're talking about education here. You're talking about the next human resource, the manpower force of the country. And they are taxed with training those people. So if you can have money for the fanciful things that you defend, you cannot convince them that you do not have money to pay, these and conditions of service that were agreed upon a decade ago. They are not even seeking for a variation of these conditions of service, an improvement of these conditions of service. They are not asking for an increase in the market premium since 2013.
But is the timing right? Because now, if we don't take care, we will have to shift the academic calendar already, which has been affected.
That's why I sympathize with the students. That's why I sympathize with parents, especially those who would have prepared themselves, financially and resource-wise to report to school, only to, meet this. But who do you blame? UTAC? Definitely not. Because we have all agreed around this table that they have been complaining about this for over 2 years now. And for me, that is a very reasonable and patient group to have, gone back and forth with government on this for over 2 years without really, affecting without really taking decisions that will affect the academic calendar. But if they have their backs against the wall, and especially like Mr. Ransford, Dr. Jampo said some time ago, when the posturing of those that they are supposed to be negotiating with does not even give them confidence that there is anything useful in the pipeline coming towards them, you cannot blame them for taking this decision.
His Royal Majesty Otumfuo has appealed to teachers not to use strike as an option. He says that, look, you can always dialogue and not suffer the students. Now I'm thinking about, yesterday I had calls from students who were saying, we have come from X distance to Y distance, and hostels were going to be here. We already don't have a lot of supplies and all of that. Now our teachers are telling us that they are on strike. What do we do?
I think that some of these appeals, as useful as they are, they must also be compared with the economic conditions under which these teachers also live. They shop in the same markets. They also have wards in school. They have to pay fees. They pay utility bills. They buy fuel to go and teach. And that the money they use to do all of these are not plucked, from the trees on their campuses. They have to come from their employers, in this case, mostly government. And so if they have decided not to strike, or even if they did in the past, but on the basis of appeals and for the love of their students, they decided to call off their strike, you will expect a responsible government to also make moves towards addressing the concerns that led to the idea of even striking. Because they have talked about striking for over 2 years now. They have gone on strike before due to these same appeals of, consider the fate of the students, don't affect the academic calendar. They return to the classrooms with nothing, but still have to go to the market to meet the almost daily increases of items that we are faced with today. So at what point can they also say enough is enough?
Okay, let's connect with the Honorable Issa Fuseni. He is the former Member of Parliament for the Okankwe North constituency. He joins us here on the ticket of the NPP. Honorable, welcome. How are you doing? Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year too.
How was the Christmas and New Year?
And thankfully it was quite restful for some of us.
I see.
We're looking forward to a productive year. Let me take opportunity and wish my brother to
Same to you.
a Happy New Year. Yeah, it's been a while since we met.
What are you expecting for Ghana, Morocco today?
Oh, Ghana, Morocco. Walking in here, I heard the coach say that we shouldn't look at the results in our trial match with Nigeria.
Right.
And everything was good in camp. There was no issues of COVID infection or any injury issues. I'm looking forward to a very good game. But you see, the North Africans have always been a thorn in our flesh.
That's right.
Hopefully, we are able to perform to an appreciable level today and be able to. I saw the game yesterday between Cameroon and Burkina Faso. I thought it was up there. I mean, so Charlie, all the best to the Black Stars.
See, all the best to our Black Stars, and may they make us proud. But Honorable, we've started a year on strikes. TU went on strike. We talked them out of it. They are back at the negotiation table. UTAG is there. Cocoa Carriers are there. Teacher training colleges are there. About 5 or so of them. How do we begin a year like that?
Johnny, these issues have been building up, and for me personally, when you talk about UTAG strikes, I cringe, and I just hope that we find the long-term solution to some of the strikes, especially for UTAG, because I belong to the class of people who lost their whole academic year in 94-95 waiting to go into university after my A-levels, and for us that experience was very so it took a whole year off our academic trajectory, because for a whole year public universities were closed. Yes, and at the time there were no private universities, so we had to wait a whole year, a whole academic year, and that experience I don't want to happen again. Incidentally, last year I spent most of my time at the economics department at Legon. Okay. And so I was there when the last strike actually happened, and it was very disruptive as well. And I'm wondering why we have waited and for this to happen again. What can we do? The strikes, they will have to end up at the negotiation tables. I mean, from what happened in 94-95, it shows that strikes are probably not the ultimate ways of getting some of these matters resolved. At the end of the day, you have to go to the table to speak, whether being it premiums, whatever being book allowance, whatever it is. I can understand the agitation of UTAG and the lecturers and all of that, and I'm sure government is also shown commitment. Last time the education
government showed commitment. That's what they're saying.
You see, but there's always a wedge. There's always a wedge between the two parties, and as a nation, somebody's managing the resources. He probably is sitting at the point where he knows what we can afford and what we can afford. The other party is also seeking their interest, and that is very fair. It is very fair for UTAG to be seeking the interest of or the welfare of their members, and for the lecturers to be using the tool of going on a strike to be able to get what they want. But experience has shown that at the end of the day, they will have to come to the negotiating table. If lecturers like DK Shadow formerly of who we expected, who became a celebrity within a strike action in 94-95, because everybody was expecting to hear from him. Every day we follow the media, we're on campus following issues. I can only urge the parties, and I'm sure that this week being the real first week, I'm sure I have absolute trust in the Minister of Education. I am sure that he should be able to be on top of these issues. Students are going to school already, accommodation and the likes are a hassle. You don't want this to be also add on to it. So I pray that this is resolved as soon as practical.
Once you mention accommodation, we'll get into that. Professor Yanka, Kwesi Yanka, I remember the president set up the Professor Yanka committee to look at accommodation issues at the university because of free SHS. You know, the argument was made that we're getting more numbers from free SHS. That injection into the tertiary institutions will mean that we'll have to expand capacity. This committee was set up in 2017, latter part or early 2018, when Professor Yanka had said that the news of lack of accommodation at universities was news to him. We are in 2022, and that accommodation issue still stands. Where's the solution?
You see, things have changed over the years. Maybe over 20 years ago, when I was in Legon, doing my undergrad, the population of Legon was probably around 10,000. Today, the population of Legon is well in excess of 50 to 60,000. It means that things have actually changed. Technology has changed, and so we should also find new ways of doing things. Gone are the days where every student in Legon probably needed accommodation on campus. In fact, COVID has also brought out some of the new things that or the ways that we can adopt to face the challenges. Accommodation on campus has been a perennial problem. Why we have waited to get to that level, I don't know. Legon, unless I know Legon, so I can always use Legon
as your alma mater.
Yes, I'm still associated with the university. So we should actually find ways. It's also good that we sometimes we are able to predict some of the challenges, but as to the effort to resolve this, I can't sit here and claim to know what the committee has done or where its work is or what measures they have put in place. I can't sit here and claim. I claim that I know what it is, but for us to have even made the attempt itself, I'm sure that we should be on the path. Free SHS came in, and now we are seeing very astronomical numbers qualifying to go to university.
Did we prepare for them at the top?
I think that as to whether we're prepared or not, I think that there are ways in which we could improvise to get to them. See, when COVID struck, University of Ghana, for instance, adopted a way where I think at every point in time, you had about half the student population on campus.
In, out, in.
In, out, in was a couple of years ago when everybody was on campus. That was pre-COVID.
That's right.
Where first years or level 100s were given the preference as to get accommodation so they could get their work started. And subsequently, they had to, the numbers were. But I think what the university does now is a certain percentage of the accommodation is reserved for the freshers, and then the continuing students also have some limited. But I think that ultimately we know we have to improve upon
have we been committed to solving this problem? Because you see, the Ivani hostels and all those ones, those private entities that came along and plugged into, we don't seem to be giving more opportunities to those private investors. I know that the Liman Hall, for example, and others have come. Akwapon Hall have been added on to the traditional Ekwafo, City, Volta, and all those ones. But
did you say City?
Yes.
What is City? There's no traditional hall in Legon called City.
Commonwealth Hall.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, now you're talking.
So Vandal City, sorry.
No, that's because we Legon Hall are the original. We are the
please.
We are the.
Oh, please. So it's okay. Let's not argue about that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just saying City. That's all. We made. So now I'm saying that how are we getting private investors to plug into it? Because it looks like it's become a daunting task for government.
I think that the inclusion of the likes of, you mentioned Bunny and all of that, it provides that the university has a model which can be followed, because those are functional and they've been on stream for quite a while. But I also remember that the university had some issues with some investors, some US investors, which went to court, and there was some judgment that last year and all of that. I don't know how that was also affecting the ability of the investors to leverage on private capital. Of course, for where we are now, there are quite a number of models, especially the PPP model, that allows private-public partnership to be able to provide these facilities. And if we have Vandy and Bunny and the likes, which have come on stream, there should be a model, a workable model, because I think that those hostels are working, and it will be good to replicate those, because when it comes to space or land, I don't think the University of Ghana lacks that. I think there's vast land, and they don't have issues of encroachment and all of that. So I think that probably the new VC who came into office a couple of months ago would have to be proactive and with the support of some very, very, very sharp brains like Edward Legon. They should be able to leverage on this to be able to get accommodation.
Stepping for me now, accommodation. I know that's the constituents have also reached out to you. Stranded over the weekend, I got so many calls. Yesterday I was at an event and two ladies walked up to me and they said, look, you have to talk about accommodation, because we used to have it, now we don't have it anymore. And for me, it's worrying, because you could clearly tell that these are people who want to learn, who want to acquire more knowledge, but where to lay their heads to get the peace of mind to learn is a problem.
It's really sad. I mean, sometimes I hear people older than my generation talk of how they used to stay one in a cubicle or two in a cubicle, and people my generation perhaps lived 4 or 5 in a cubicle. And yes, and it's as if it's just getting worse. Now you don't even have. Now we have a situation where you don't even have the accommodation for the students. So sometimes you wonder if we are really making progress in the important areas of growth as a country, because education should, in that light, be seeing some remarkable improvements. I mean, you hear people talk about how they went on strike before and all that. I mean, now you can't even contemplate that today. And so you ask yourself whether after graduating from those schools, we have worked as is required, to maintain what we enjoyed in school, even if we are not able to improve it or not. And the sad tale is that we are having to talk about a deterioration where students cannot even have accommodation. In fact, I have also found out that the shortage has created a very, very, enabling environment for corruption and all kinds of businesses on campus relating to accommodation. I mean, some people go and take the available space and price it, beyond the reach of the ordinary student.
Clever bully.
And I think that we must find a solution to this, especially when we are, going to produce more students with the restructuring that we are doing to our basic education, who will now all flood these tertiary institutions. Because when you cut off examinations at the basic level, what we are going to have is going to be mass, production of students for the tertiary institutions. And if we are not putting up the right infrastructure, then we are just, setting many generations after us. We are just setting them up for failure, And I think that yes, the PPP arrangements, the private developers that have done well in some of our institutions, we should look at that model, and see how we can improve upon it. But the problem with that is the cost. And then again, it takes you to the cost of even the materials that these people also use to put up, the infrastructure.
That's right.
Cost of cement, cost of iron rods, even cost of water. Everything is going up, and so it becomes difficult for you to criticize them for the prices that they slap on the facilities that they provide near these campuses to complement the existing infrastructure. That is why it is important that we all at every point in time demand of our government to utilize the resources, no matter how small, in the important areas of growth as a country, because the government is the biggest spender. Government should be able to, take the biggest share of the problem.
Do you see that
to resolve it?
Do you see that commitment?
No, I don't. I mean, honestly, now I don't. I mean, because if you look at our budgets over the years, especially in recent times, we have been doing poorly when it comes to infrastructure. Investments in infrastructure. We've been doing very poorly. No, I mean the records are there. I'm sure he works in the financial sector. He knows. He was in Parliament. He saw it. The level of investment infrastructure development in our budgets of late have been dwindling. It's mostly negligible. In fact, the only time it increased in the last 5 years, I think, was in 2020. And I think it was because it was an election year. But those are the critical investments that a government needs to make to create the enabling environment for, all manner of things to thrive. I mean, when the roads are good, other things just happen. Citizens just pick up other things, by the roadside. Businesses spring up by the roadside. A movement is facilitated. Movements of goods are facilitated. Even meetings, deadlines are improved. When the internet, infrastructure is good, things just happen. And those are the infrastructure investments you need, to put in place. When you have accommodation, facilities provided, you have lecture halls provided in your schools. I mean, students just come out being better because all they now have to do is to focus on reading their books and not looking for a place to lay their heads.
Now,
it is important that we invest in the important areas, even as we complain of the low resources that government have. We need to see them invest those little resources in the important areas of growth.
What do we tell UTAG? Because they are on strike. The students are hoping to return to school. I don't know how long they can hold this on, but what do we tell them now?
Well, it is quite difficult for me to appeal to them to go back to the classroom, even though that is what, I wish I could, that's the appeal I wish I could make. But I understand their circumstances because we all live in the conditions that are not, very palatable, market conditions, I mean. And so to ignore the fact that they have been living with this problem for so many years now and just say, for the sake of the students, for the sake of the academic calendar, go back to school. It seemed heartless. It seemed heartless to me. So I will rather focus on making an appeal to government to take concrete steps to resolve whatever grievances that they have. I know that, yes, the market premium, the research allowance and others are issues that have been on the table for a very long time now. But we have had, I believe, enough time as a government to be able to, if not even resolve all the problems, but to meet them in a way that they will appreciate the commitment that is shown and also consider the plight of the students and the academic calendar and return to the classroom. But in the absence of that, it becomes very difficult. It seems very heartless to just appeal to the lecturers to go back to the classroom, especially when you have government defending very unnecessary, fanciful expenditure in very unimportant areas.
Fusini, what do we tell the lecturers?
Johnny,
they say, look, you owe them, you have not paid them, you are not talking to them.
Last time when they were striking last year, There were issues like book allowance and dollarization, whether they wanted equivalent, CD equivalent of some dollar amount. All of that is being resolved. I hear what is outstanding now is the market premium, and this whole market premium came about as a result of the single spine salary structure (SSSS) that we started a couple of years ago. But I'm also gathering that there is a meeting today between UTAG and the Employment Ministry.
Right.
And I pray that at that meeting we are able to get this thing resolved, because I don't think anybody is quite happy with the situation. And I believe that given the timing and all of that in the academic calendar, we won't want to have any disruption in the calendar. And so hopefully the matter should be resolved today for the academic community to get back to work.
I see. Anyway, I'm just seeing Ben Arthur heads Fair Wages and Salaries Commission. I hope that we pay attention to fair wages and salaries as well, so that the teachers will not come back and asking for it. 5 strikes, it will be easy. Nanado. Good morning to you, Presido. This is not good for you. But let's talk about the suspension of the reversal of the benchmark values. Now, I'm reading that President says go back for broader consultations. This was announced in the budget on the 17th of November. Were consultations not done before it was announced in the budget of all places?
Johnny, we couldn't say, we can't not say that, because I am privy that for a formidable force like UTAG, and even Guta, sorry.
Same alphabet, but different arrangement.
By Guta. Even after the budget was read, there was extensive discussions, and we've been at this on various platforms over a month or so. But you see, you can discuss and formulate policy at whatever levels. What I think was the problem was that there were processes that had started in 2021, and the cutoff had to be clear as to which when maybe the ship docked, when the processes started, and what policy was in effect. And so when at the turn of the year, the first working day, when people had gone to make payment against
the 4th of January.
4th of January, when people had gone to make payment against maybe cargo that had come in December, and they had started the processing and had been given a certain amount to pay as duty, they go to pay, and then the system will. It's a systemic problem. I was expecting that maybe the cutoff would have been laid clear, that beyond this date, this is what is happening. I think that is the issue with Guta now, and the consultation has no end. It started before budget, post the budget, and implementation stage. There will have to be consultation until But as to the policy itself, as I was coming in, I was listening to radio, and you see between Guta, AGI, I mean, the various stakeholders have the various stakes. But you see, I was in Parliament when we implemented this benchmark values and all of that. I still think that the impact that we had expected were not attained, given the traffic at the ports and prices of merchandise on the market and all of that. And so we have to take a second look.
I'm saying something should have informed the decision to have the benchmark values cut. Something should have informed it. Of course, something did. So now, if something informed it, who was doing the monitoring and evaluation? And is there, for example, scientific proof to say we intended to have X number of volume, X number of amount, blah, 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 and after 3 years it's not coming, after 2 years it's not coming, so this is why we are reversing? If you don't communicate that, the people will agitate. Of course, at the point of policy formulation, all the stakeholders were what the traffic we had expected at the port, that will ultimately generate into revenues for government, as were not what was prices on markets and the benefit ultimately going to Ghanaians was not. So it was time that we had, and even impact on the industry.
as I came into the studio this morning, I was hearing the Rice Millers Association saying that, look, given the support, they will be able to provide or produce all the rice that we need in this country. Similarly, Poultry Farmers Association are also saying that given the support and given a secured market, irrespective of some of the challenges, they will be able to supply.
What about sugar producers?
Oh, sugar, given the right measures, given the right environment, and I'm sure Commander will always be a significant issue to be talked about now. And it's true. At what point are we going to support our industries and create the employment here?
Professor, do you stop importing what you don't immediately have?
You see,
that you're going to produce, or do you do that concurrently?
You see, it's a chicken and egg situation. You see, we can copy from the example of Nigeria. We as a people, we keep saying that we have acquired foreign taste. And today we love perfumed rice that smells nice, rice that is whole.
We do perfumed rice here, by the way. Minta Kando and a couple of other.
Okay, the imported perfumed rice, as you say. Yeah. In Nigeria, when you go to Nigeria, irrespective of where you go, it's the local rice that is served. And we as a people, we have to be conscious of some of those things. The
president gave a directive on the 20th of December 2019 at the meeting with the editors. I was there. He gave that directive. Today, as we speak, if you go to some of the agencies, you won't find local rice.
When president, as it is now, the regime that we have now, when president gives a directive, it probably affects public procurement and all of that, into schools, into government agencies and all of that. Every private citizen can do, because so if the private citizens think that my acquired taste is what I will still pursue, ultimately it won't, right? It's an attitude and taste and all of that change over time. It will take quite a bit of time for us to get to the appreciable level of local production and consumption. That if we don't do that, if we don't produce what we eat, if we don't produce what we wear, trust me, this economy will be import dependent, and no country has been able, I mean, the economic data will show you, no country has been able to make any significant strides towards its economic development when it is import dependent on its food and very basic needs like that. We have to start doing. Look,
what do you say to those?
It's not going to be.
What do you say to those who say that? Look, you are now going to do consultations because you failed to do it extensively.
No.
In the first instance, before you announce it in the budget.
Policy formulation, it's the whole process. It's a very intertwined. Ultimately, even when you have started implementing the policy, you have to take feedback, and that feedback will have to feed into the policy to ensure that ultimately all stakeholders are able to be tagged along and the object of the policy is reached. So if you are implementing a policy in another stage, you take feedback and you feed it into it. It is very regular of policy. And so it is nothing untoward. It's nothing out of it. I think that the right thing has been done. The cutoffs and the dates and all is just, so let's take a break.
I hear you.
Let's resolve these issues and then we can go back to the
I hear you. Bella is ready for us with messages. Elijah, I'll come to you shortly. But Bella, welcome, and let's hear what the people are saying on social media.
All right, thank you, Johnny. If NPP said the government cannot be blamed wholly for increasing cost of living, who should be blamed? Would NPP have said the same if it was another government in power? What a country. They either blame JM, COVID-19, or other circumstances for their problems. This is from Ablade Efiakuma Zongo Takoradi. Please, I'm a NAPCO personnel. You guys should speak to the government to pay us. Some of us are suffering. For the past 4 months now, we've not been paid. Our wife and children are there too, and it's not easy to take care of them. Pressure is high within the family. This is a message from Sule from Sunyani KTK. No government in Ghana's history has managed to deliver and fulfill its promises to the good people of Ghana than His Excellency President Akufo-Addo-led government. In terms of healthcare, employment, sustainable energy, industrialization, education, transportation, agric, railways, and prudent banking. etc. His Excellency President Akufo-Addo is a generational thinker. Let's support him to transform Ghana for all. The battle still remains the Lord's. Okay, and you should see Honorable Issa all excited about this message. Don't worry, another one. Oh, so you already knew it. Nanekia Mwabuating Ablekuma Central, aka E-Levy. Oh, that's your AK. Okay. Wow. Good morning, TV3. President Nanado's intervention, be it the benchmark Buhaha, is welcoming because this opposition NDC is capitalizing on this to cause disaffection to the government or for the government. A very good morning to Colonel Retired Kwejo Damwa, Commissioner of Customs, Ghana Revenue Authority. That's from Nana Piamwa Boating.
Colonel Kwejo Damwa retired. That's the right
Oh,
word.
okay, okay. So the retired has to come
So
at
the colonel
end.
is still alive. It's Damwa that has retired.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for that. Good morning, Johnny. Our problem as a nation starts and ends with a document called the 92 Constitution. This document allows the so-called seven to set their own salaries and benefits, live lavishly, and even borrow and pay themselves. And what's left can't be used to serve the needed development agenda, while the citizens, the taxpayers who are supposed to be served, go hungry and become miserable without any reasonable, sustainable employment. Can you sense the overgrown anger in this? That's from Dematro, the creator. Absolutely. Good morning, Johnny. Please ask, what are the Ghanaian universities using the hall fees and dues that they collect from students for? Please, Johnny, it's only in Ghana that when the president says something, it fails to carry weight. Where has the NAPCO permanency and stipends gotten to? Good morning, Johnny. This current government has nothing to offer Ghanaians. That's Godwin from Dansoman. Honorable Suyini opined that government spends in a profligate manner. What is he saying about the MP car loans? Is it necessary? What about the ex gratia that they take? Are they also not profligate? Idi Adam Osman from Larabanga and UTAG should please continue exercising patience because our students' future is partially in their hands. Please let us not welcome our freshers with strikes. It will be catastrophic and frustrating to most of them. Please hold on a bit for us. The government will surely attend to your call, hopefully. That's Master Planner Junior from Kintampo. And finally, governments over the years have been visionless concerning all sectors of our growth. This is why former President of South Africa, Peter Botha, said Africans cannot rule themselves. We have to sit up. If things continue like this, there will be serious strife to come that will make the nation ungovernable. The NPP government should attend to the needs of UTAG and others. That's it, Johnny.
Thank you very much indeed. And somebody sends a message, says, Johnny, there was no consultation for the 2022 budget before it was presented to Parliament. The MMDAs had no chief executives to hold ESCO and General Assembly meetings to approve budgets to feed into the national budget. You know that we delayed for 9 solid months before we eventually appointed them. So he's wondering how we got the input of the MMDs. But Alaji, take your bite on the benchmark reversal. The president has given a reversal. It says, well, until the 17th, hold on and have consultations. What do you say?
Well, Johnny, Isa admits to something that is significant, that the initial idea behind the reduction of the benchmark values perhaps was not well thought through, and that is why they have not been able to achieve the intended reduction.
It wasn't volumes. Volumes are the import volumes.
He admits that it wasn't achieved.
The inflows, the revenue.
He didn't say it was not well thought through, but he admits it was not achieved. Can I finish?
Once you
admit it was not achieved. Did you?
To the fact that
was not achieved.
Policy formulation is continuous.
No, please.
When you get a result,
you are now explaining something. That's not what I'm interested in. I'm interested in what you said about the fact that it has not achieved its intended
when you're not getting to
you can explain that when you have another time. But I'm saying that you admit.
I heard you. You said that
it has not.
I could play the vice president video. The vice president had 4 things that he was looking forward to: import volumes, was looking for revenue, competitiveness, and also to encourage.
Johnny, because of time.
Now, you said that those 2, import volumes and the revenues, were not achieved.
He said that. So there's no question about that. So what I'm saying is that can I please.
Okay, it's all right. Allow him.
So the point I want to make is that I am happy he makes that admission. Now I conclude by saying that it is the nature of this government not to think through policies carefully
That's not fair.
before
That's
implementing
That's not fair.
Why? Why is it not fair? It's their nature not to think through politics.
That's not
Look,
fair.
Can you count the number of decisions they have made and have had to come back to reverse them since they came into power? And guess what? The answer is in Dr. Bawumia and the president's own assertion that when the NDC during the campaign said that we will do a nationwide consultation on how to, retool the free SHS, their conclusion was that we didn't have ideas. And that's why we do consultation. So by their understanding, consulting people means you don't have ideas. So, and repeatedly, many of us have said that this government seems to be governing, like they say in MTN, sorry for advertising them, government as you go. I mean, they do things as they go. Remember when they announced this benchmark, reduction? We criticized it. We said it was not well thought through. It was not going to achieve its intended. The kind of ideas that they had were not going to be achieved. Here we are today, back to square one.
Well, we are consulting, so by
back
17,
to square one. But Johnny, when I talk about the reversals, you know what I think the problem with this government is that they haven't been able to separate politics from governance.
Really?
No, they can't stop politicking even when they should be governing. So you remember the utilities and the announcement of reductions. And what that has led to that has contributed to the indebtedness of ECG and VRA and others, which they had to finally reverse. Remember the free water and what the information minister later told us, that we have to pay for it. I mean, they can't separate governance from politics. And so they take a step forward and then they take 2 steps backwards.
But this one, the reversal of this benchmark value, as is envisioned, is to help the local economy and local production hub also to thrive and to feed us. Ghana beyond aid, if you like.
Has it? Has it? He says, and we all know that it hasn't. So that is why AGI is demanding, that government should rather reverse the announcement done politically by Dr. Bawumia, because they think that is how to rather support local industry, increase the benchmarks. But at the time that they were doing it, they were cautioned. But they thought they had a better idea. And today, now, local production is suffering, yet the reason why they also reduce the benchmarks, the volumes at the ports, are not remarkable. So have we gone or have we come? But Johnny, in all of this, what I find sad is the fact that the president chooses to reverse the benchmark issues over brouhaha, but completely ignores the e-levy.
We will get there. You are going back on the 25th.
No, he has not.
You are going back on the 25th.
We are talking about, he says that they need, Tony, what have people been calling for on the e-levy? Consultation. That's what every stakeholder have been calling for. Consultation.
And you are not being listened to?
The president says he's suspending benchmarks values for consultation. But he's dead silent on e-levy. Why? Compare the impact of benchmark values with the impact of e-levy on the ordinary.
Are you
Ghanaian.
ready to be consulted?
Everyone has always been ready
but
for
because
consultation.
you have served notice, your side has served notice that you are kicking against it.
Exactly.
You don't want it.
Exactly.
So if you have indicated that you don't want it, what kind of consultation will change your mind?
Johnny, Nana Akufo-Addo led demonstrations to kick against VAT. Completely.
1995.
Completely. But the government of the day that was democratic, even though it was led by a military ruler, suspended it.
Until 1998.
And engaged in consultations.
Until 1998.
And eventually passed it, which is now contributing to, the payment of luxury jets that the president who was campaigning against it flies in.
I hear you. You are going back on the 25th. Daily guy says more blows. Are we getting more blows? I'm coming. Are we getting more blows from you on the 25th?
Well, you see, we must celebrate our democracy and all that it comes with. Because other countries, as we speak, like I have said consistently, are actually bleeding, killing themselves just so that they can have the opportunity to disagree, even if it gets to fisticuffs, the way that we disagree in this country democratically. So I do not expect more blows on the floor of Parliament. And I do not also expect the use of, unconventional ways of getting things done on the floor of the House. I mean, the two must go together. We should not expect blows, we should not expect fisticuffs, but we should also understand that the nature of the Parliament that we have today will require a lot of consensus building. It will require a lot of negotiation and not trying to outsmart the other using unconventional
will we see consensus in this year?
Parliament has always operated on consensus.
No, this peculiar Parliament.
No, I mean
137, 138.
No, if you go and look at the decisions that we took, most of the decisions that were taken in the last sitting were based on consensus. Majority were based on consensus.
I hear you.
There are disagreements on some very critical issues, and those disagreements sometimes are very necessary for the forward march of this.
I hear you. So you need to take your 1 minute.
Johnny, I still will insist that policy implementation is part of whole policy formulation. You see, we have been in this.
You don't implement before you formulate. You formulate, implement, and fine tune.
Wait.
You don't implement before you formulate.
See.
Policy implementation.
You see, this is what I don't like about it.
But you started it. So don't say as if this is what.
You see, when you have. When you have the outcomes, it fits back into the policy. Look, in this country, it is not the first time that we have started implementation of a policy that we have gone back. We have had incidents, times when condoms and cutlasses have been taxed in this country, haven't we? Today they are not, because we realized at a point that the objects of that policy were not being attained. So we had to go back and scrap them. So it is very normal for you to start implementing a policy, get results, and go back. That is the process.
I hear you.
That is the process.
You know one thing.
So it is not out of place. It is not out of place. It is not out of place for you to have results or outcomes in the policy process and go back into.
No, you form the policy, you implement, and you find.
It is not out of place for you to be having outcomes that goes back.
But when you always implement and now have to
it's a cycle.
We have to go.
Like you guys,
we have to go. Thank you. Hussaini Issa, he is a former member of parliament for the Okankwe North constituency. Also, Alasan Suini Alaji is a member of parliament for the Tamale North constituency. Somebody says, I should tell you that your government is mastering the art of starting a policy without the policy document. For example, the no vaccination, no entry policy.
I can
Where is it?
For you.
Where's the document?
SHS. It took us several, many years.
No vaccination. A policy expert. I'll share his name with you. I don't want to mention him, but I'll share with you. So there's no entry, no vaccination, no entry.
Policy, no
it's been announced, but there's no.
Are you following what's happening in Australia?
I don't know. Well, anyway, happy birthday to Yawa Awuye.
I'm just telling you about
your birthday today. Happy birthday, Yawa. Live long and prosper in good health. We love you. From all of us here at TV3, we love you. Happy birthday also to Chonam Cleans, Akpelo, AGA, Greater Accra President. Greater Accra President. It says, have a blast. And if you're looking for a Christmas tree, we have one here. We can give to you for free. We'll see you after the break.
Oh, really? So how are you going to make all of that happen? Come, and I'll show you.
Step into success. Enter the Republic Bank digital space, where you have the choice to get more out of life. Download the app, Republic Mobile. No longer count numbers. Set a proxy. Use that to make payments. Simple. Bank anywhere at any time. Use Republic Online to check your investment balance